Hi friends, Dean and I are currently in Louisiana. We bypassed Alabama and Mississippi, so we won't have any quilt shops there, but we'll have quilt shops in Texas soon. We'll be over in Texas, so if you have any ideas for quilt shops in Texas, let us know in the comments below. But today's video is about quilt stories. Last September at the MSQC Birthday Bash, I asked quite a few ladies and was turned down by quite a few because they were intimidated by my camera. But I asked quite a few ladies about quilt stories that they might have, and a few of them obliged and told me a sweet little quilt story. So some of them were just out and about at the birthday bash, and some of them were in the little sewing center working for on quilts for Project Linus. So I got some sweet stories there. So today we get to listen to some quilt stories. Stay all the way to the end and I will share with you my favorite, my only really, but my favorite little quilt story. So let's hear some stories.
Hi, I'm Jade Brannigan. My quilt story is I had a son who was born premature. He was 10 weeks premature. And when we got home from the hospital, a woman that worked with my father for like 30 years made us a quilt for him and brought it over to us. And it was so sweet. I still have it to this day. I have it folded up on my couch. And it just reminds me of the love that people have to share with other people when they're going through something difficult. So really sweet, and we love that quilt.
Hey, I'm Chris. I'm from Unionville, Missouri, and I have a group of ladies that we sew with. Our group's called So Much Love, and we saw how to make these receiving blankets, a self-binding. And so we went back to where we sew, and we knew what we were doing, you know, and we got to measuring the corner part where you're supposed to do this angle, and it just didn't seem, and slowly but slowly the receiving blanket got a little smaller and smaller, so we could, but I've got it down now, but we laughed so hard because, oh, this is the right way, and then it wasn't the right way. That's the way it went.
But it turns out in the end.
A little smaller than the plan, but the baby maybe it was a little smaller too. I don't know.
Small babies.
There you go.
Perfect. Any kind of story about
I had a lady come in last night. She brought her baby in to change his diaper. So we were chatting for a few minutes, and she said that her son had received one when he was in the hospital, and it was one of his favorite quilts. He was probably a year old, and it was kind of neat to hear the story because, you know, we send our blankets out into the world.
Right.
Sometimes we'll get stories back. Patty will get a letter. The chapter coordinators will get a letter saying, I want to thank you, you know, my child received a blanket and it's one of their favorites. So it was kind of neat to actually meet someone that got one of our blankets.
I love that.
It's great. Perfect. It was great.
Okay.
My name is Pam from Mobile, Alabama, and my daughter's name was Callie. She passed away in 1991 before Project Linus was formed. And so every time we went to the hospital, she had cystic fibrosis, and every time we went to the hospital, we took my grandmother's quilt with us. And so I knew how important that was to have that quilt on that bed because those colors broke up all that white. And so when someone approached me about Project Linus, I said, this is the most perfect fit for me because I knew the importance of these quilts to these children in the hospital. So that's why, and I've been doing it for 21 years.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, my name is Barbara Hackett from Nolensville, Tennessee, and what I do for wedding gifts is I take pictures from the wedding and then I embroider sayings from the wedding, and I print the photos out on the photo fabric and alternate the blocks and make them a quilt to remember their wedding day.
And I bet those are beautiful quilt stories for the receivers.
Right, and then they can have that to remember their day forever.
Thank you.
So my name is Kathy Silva, and that's Linda Miller. We're from Omaha. Hello. We're from Omaha, Nebraska. We sew together every 2 weeks, and not too long ago we were at her house sewing, and I had to go, and we were watching her clock, and I had to go to the doctor's. That was it. And I had to be there at 4:30, so it was like 3:30, and I'm thinking, okay, I got plenty of time. She hadn't changed her clocks.
Oh no!
So it was 4:30.
So you said you guys quilt together on a regular basis?
Linda has taught me, yes, for years.
Nice.
Linda, how long have we been doing this?
It's like
I've been
a
married
little
10 years.
quilting sister
Yes.
Yeah.
thing.
When we were working,
Well, you were at your other house.
Yep.
Hi, I'm Barbara Baird. My quilting journey began when my oldest granddaughter was on the way. And I made her a quilt, and around the edge I free motioned Grandma loves Megan, a bushel and a peck. Grandma loves Megan with a hug around her neck. And when she was born, there weren't very many people in the delivery area, and they had to call my daughter's doctor in. And it was kind of funny because she was actually born between the hallway and the delivery room. And my son had come to see his sister, and the doctor said, "Mike, you need to get over here and help me put these gloves on." And he crawled over the bed, and the first thing that Megan had on her was my quilt.
That is a perfect quilt story.
So my name is Tammy Watson. I am from Memphis, Tennessee, and my daughter and I had always wanted to learn to quilt, so we started out doing like the hand quilting thing, and she was really good at it, but I stunk at it, so I got a sewing machine. But anyway, after several years of doing that, I had some fabric that I really loved. We had made our first Mecca trip to Missouri Star, and I had bought some fabric, and I got it out one day when we had a rare snow day. And my husband says, "So who's that quilt for?" And I was like, "Yeah, I don't know. I like the fabric, so I'm going to do it." So I made this sweet little quilt. And not long after that, maybe within 6 months, a friend of mine had a student whose family's house burned down. And she was about 9, and she sewed. And she lost her machine, and she lost all of her things that she sewed with in the fire, and was very sad about it. And so a friend of mine and I, we gathered some materials and, some fabric and just general sewing materials. I didn't have an extra machine, but, and I thought, I'm going to send that quilt. I didn't have a purpose for it. I'm going to send that quilt. I got the sweetest letter. She just cried. They were her colors. Who would have known? I certainly didn't. I don't even know her. I couldn't tell you her name. But anyway, that was very, very special.
That is a good quilt story.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing.
I'm Nancy Lane. I live in Southern California in the high desert.
Did you come all the way out here for this? Or are you just...
In part. We're on a 3-month motorhome trip.
Nice.
And I said, since we're north and going east, I have to go to Missouri Star.
100%.
So, and in exchange, then we will also be going to the Harley dealership or the Harley Museum in Milwaukee. So,
that's fair.
Anyway, the quilt story is I was making a quilt for my granddaughter right at the beginning of COVID. Everybody was short of everything. It called for 5 different fabrics. I got one at a discount fabric store, then I got 2 at Joann's, and then I got the last 2 Missouri Star online, and just prayed that the purples and the grays were the same color, and it came out beautiful. But that was a crazy shopping trip.
Yeah, COVID quilting.
It was, and everybody was just short of everything, and I couldn't find anything to match that I was happy with, and it just all fell together, so it was meant to be.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Lovely quilt story.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Chris from Oregon.
And I'm Judy from Oregon.
And we're here at Missouri Star Birthday Bash. And how we found her was when Nancy Zeman was having a show. Nancy was ill, and Jenny went up and took over one of her classes for her, so they wouldn't have to refund the money to all the people. And that's how we found Jenny, and here we are 5-6 years later at the Birthday Bash.
Every year.
Nice. From Oregon, you said?
Yes. And it's so much fun. It's just a big party for 3 days. Everybody needs to come.
It's Disneyland.
Yeah.
For sewers.
It is. It is
That's a
so
good
much
story.
fun.
Thanks. Say bye.
Bye.
All right, I love those quilt stories. I actually hope you can hear me. There's a train going by, not too awful far, so it's a little bit noisy, but I wanted to share my little quilt story. When I was 16 years old, I was living with a sweet family in Roy, Utah, and the lady that I was living with, Bertha, put up a big quilt frame in the living room. It like took the whole living room. It was nearing Christmas time, and she put up one of those like little cheater quilts, right? It was a wedding ring quilt, and she was tying it, and she said she was doing it for somebody for Christmas. And I thought that that was so beautiful, and whoever was getting that quilt was going to be so lucky, because it was so beautiful, and she was putting all that time and thought into tying that quilt. And sure enough, it was me. I got that quilt for Christmas when I was 16 years old. That quilt is still on a bed today, and very, very worn and very, very loved. You know, sometimes I hear about people that have a parent or somebody that quilts, and they're like, oh, my house, I'm so saturated with quilts. But if you are ever a lucky recipient of a handmade quilt, you're lucky. You're very, very lucky. I've gotten one in my lifetime. And I hope that as I'm becoming a quilter, that I'm going to be able to share quilts with people that I love, and they'll know how much time and effort and money, actually they're expensive, goes into that, because there is a lot of love that goes into that. And I'm so blessed to have received the quilt that I did. I knew that it came with love. I feel that love. I still feel that love today, even though she passed years ago. So if you guys ever see me somewhere and I ask for a quilt story, don't be afraid of my camera. Share it with us. Or if you ever see me and I don't ask, say, hey, get your camera. I've got a quilt story, and I will record your quilt story so that we can all enjoy it. Tuesday's adventure videos are destination videos, and Fridays are quilt videos. So we'll see you guys hopefully on Tuesday, if not next Friday. Peace out.